Joining me today is Michael York, who's the acting director of the New Hampshire Department of Cultural Resources. And before I get to the library, and I want to get to the library because I know there's something really interesting there. I want to go back to sort of that $230 million in economic activity associated with the grants that you put out.
Right.
How much were the grants? Was it 100,000, a million?
Oh no, they're usually
500 million.
No, they're usually much more modest than that.
Yeah.
They're in the tens of thousands, maybe, but more like 5,000 to 7,000. And it's again to help individuals and to help organizations promote the arts in New Hampshire. And it's important because that segment often needs a slight push. We don't have strong lobbyists, if you will, for the arts and cultural activities.
It's almost under the radar because it's diffused, I guess. A lot of small entrepreneurs, artists, artisans, or individual. There's no major corporations.
Right.
But you see that kind of return is just amazing.
Right.
And it speaks to what you sort of with the film. You got $100,000 that we're investing as a state, and what did you say it was 1 point?
It changes every week. I get a call from Matt Newton, the director, telling me, we've just recorded some additional money that we took in 2016, and now it's up to the last. I think I recall the last one was 1.7 million. So that's
just amazing.
quite a and again, it's because of. These things are all about the relationships that we can establish with people.
Are we easy to work with if you're a film company? As a state?
Yeah. I would say that we go out of our way to try and help them. The difficulty is with all of these things, and this is not a pitch for tax incentives because those are very, very complicated.
Right, because other states give tax incentives.
Other state and some states have given tax incentives and now have had to back away from it. It's the same thing as building a stadium in a state or a city. Sometimes you can generate a lot of revenue, but it's a very hot political.
But this is happening the traditional New Hampshire way.
The traditional New Hampshire way of helping people.
We offer a great state, and come in.
Right, and I think what Matt does is he's obviously honest with people when they call up, and if they want a beach with palm trees,
we're not going to get that.
Not likely.
If you want snow in January, we can find that for you.
Want snow in January? If you want Tuckerman's Ravine, if you want the surf crashing over the wall at Hampton, we can help you out. And there are lots of people out there doing things that require that.
So the library. I got to switch quickly because we've got about 90 seconds left.
Okay.
The library is celebrating a birthday.
Yes. The New Hampshire State Library is 300 years old this year.
So we've got New York, Boston, Philadelphia. Those are the cities that could be older. Are any one of those libraries older?
No, they're not.
Is there any? Virginia, is there a library?
There's the Library of Virginia. There is the New Jersey State Library. But I looked last week and I saw that New Jersey State Library identifies its founding as 1796, and well after.
So is New Hampshire then the oldest?
Yes, we have been identified.
Number one.
We
Just
are
like the Patriots.
Like the Patriots, like the first in the nation primary. We have been identified as the first state library. Now, when you make a statement like that, you get to define some of the parameters. This was not the library that we currently have at 20 Park Street in Concord.
Well, people move, libraries move.
Yes, it started off very modestly.
But the books, we have a book from that original collection,
yes,
right?
We do.
There you go. That's all I need to know right there.
It's very much like the oak. The oak starts from a very small seed, but it becomes a very large tree.
So what are you doing to celebrate that?
We're doing a lot of our celebration is now, as I mentioned earlier to your question about how libraries change, we're using social media, Facebook, Twitter, all of the things that this generation, the current generation, are completely plugged into, and older people, like myself, are getting used to using a little bit more than in the past. So we're using the social media to really let people know about things. So we've identified 300 treasures, for example, that we have in the State Library. If you're around for 300 years, you're going to collect a lot of things. I often point out, we have a number of books that we purchase.
So we have 300 bucket list things that people can come in and see over the next 300 days.
Right. Well, we're putting these into our press reports and all
great.
of that, so people will see that. We're also trying to, we have invited the Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden, who was recently appointed in the summer, the first woman to serve in that position and the first Afro-American to serve in that position. And she was scheduled to come in March, but her schedule, we were all set. We had set the time and the date, and she was ready to come, and then something came up, and I'm sure that Lord only knows what it was, but I'm sure it was quite important. So we're trying to work around that and try and get to her scheduled in sometime. That is the big event, and we did have her scheduled, so I'm optimistic that we'll be able to reschedule her for that. But people should watch the newspapers, especially. Go onto our website.
And we'll put a link to that?
Right. To see what we're doing to celebrate. We're having a lot of fun with it. We think it's a great opportunity.
Well, and it's the oldest state library in the nation.
It is the oldest and the best.
And the best. All right. Well, I'm going to let other people from other states come and vote on that. But,
okay. Right.
But we'll claim it until then.
Exactly.
Mike, we're out of time. Thanks so much.
That was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us for this edition of Capital Connections, your weekly access to politics and policy along the I-89 and I-91 corridors and how it impacts your life in our region. If you've got an idea for a future show, please send me an email. And remember, join us again at the same time next week for another edition of Capital Connections.